Welcome to the first CADS podcast of the season. We've all had a little bit of a break. We've got refreshed, had a bit of a trim, and feeling good to go. We're going to do things a little bit differently. There's just three of us on tonight. We're going to be talking about the preseason game. We're going to be talking about transfers that are happening so far, transfers that may happen in the future, and our hopes for the future. But before then...
History in the lane, they call it White Hart fame. Kids so crisp, blue and white, we claim the game. Legends on the pitch, you know the names, feel the flame. From Greaves to Kane, the pride is all the same.
And here we are. So here we go. Just to get everything started, welcome to Ash. Welcome back. And A, thank you for joining us. It's always good to have members of the CADS crew on. How has everybody's summer been, or winter, or wherever it is you are in the world? Every single time it's like, hey, it's LA. We've got sun outside. What more do you need from us? It's LA. And A, you keeping good? Ooh, okay. Eek. Okay, so talking of cold, windswept, inhospitable areas, let's go to Edinburgh, where we watched a game featuring Spurs against Hearts last night. I don't know how many people got to watch the game. I watched it all. I would say, luckily, managed to watch it between the flying seagulls that kept coming in into shot every, half a second. I've never seen so many seagulls at a football match, ever. So, and I've been to Torquay, where there are lots of seagulls. But yeah, it was an interesting one. Did everybody watch the game? Yep. Okay. And talk us through it. What did you think were the good parts? What did you think were the bad parts? Tell me what you took away from it mostly. Yeah, I think the interesting thing in terms of Ange's philosophy is these players have been playing this way for 2 or 3 years. The way that we've been playing in the academy setup and the under 21s or the PL2 as it is now, it's always been a case of having at least one inverted fullback. It's not been a case of following the way that we play at the men's team. So even when we had Mourinho or Conte in charge, they weren't playing the same way as the men's team. They were playing this more fluid attacking format. And I think Ange has come in and he's been perfect for these players because they've got used to playing that way as they come up through the teams. And suddenly they've got a manager who wants to play that way at the very top level, and they can come in, they can slot in, and they can do a decent job. How decent is probably going to be the question, because I still think maybe they're a bit young. And I know the argument is if they're good enough, they're old enough. But some of them still have some filling out to do. I've got very high hopes for a number of them. But I thought last night particularly, Lancashire looked really, really good, and he held well against what is a men's team, you know. And he wasn't on for long, but he was dangerous, scored a really nice goal. And the thing I really liked about him when he came on was he was pointing to where he wanted the ball played, and he was demanding that it was put there. And a guy of his age doing that, you're like, yeah, okay, this guy's got something. Hey, what did you think? Hmm. We're definitely coming back to Spence later because I think there's a conversation to be had there about do we now need to bring in a right back, or is he going to be, if he can do that regularly. But we're going to come to that later. Let's go to Mikey Moore. How good is this kid? I mean, yes, he was playing against a Scottish side who, let's be honest, Scottish sides are not Premier League quality. But this is a kid that came in and looked good in the few minutes he had, you know, at the end of last season. When he went and played international, he dominated some of the games he was in, scored a fantastic goal. And in the first game of pre-season, he came on and immediately he's driving at teams, scores a beautiful goal, had an even better run after that, looked dangerous every single time he was given the ball. This kid's something special, isn't he? Mm-hmm. 16. Oh, that's not. I think they were looking at potentially loaning him out this summer. But again, I think he's too young to actually be loaned out to anybody seriously. And he's done so well in terms of the minutes that he's had and the way he's integrated into the side and the way that Ange looks at him and appreciates what he's done. I think he may well be staying and he may well become part of the senior team. He's certainly done pre-season training with the senior team. I mean, this is a guy who's so young, he can't even wear the proper training kit at the moment. He has to wear the one without the BetMGM branding on it because you can't have a minor wearing a betting top. So, yeah. Yeah. No, it's true. Hmm. He does. He looks smaller than the players around him. But when you put him up against like Spurs Plays presenter, he dwarfs him. He makes him look pretty small. I mean, the guy that presents Spurs Play is not the largest guy, but you have to take that into account. Hmm. Hmm. About the same size, I suspect, as Foden and Silva. In terms of coming through, I mean, Owen came through at 16. Rooney was built different. I mean, he looked like a 25-year-old man when he was 16, so can't really compare to it. But yeah, but Aaron Lennon was tiny when he was 33, so I mean, there's no difference there. Yeah, I'm sure he is. Not seen him since, but yeah. Hmm. He's got strength about him as well, though. If he comes, people come into him, he will bounce off them, but he'll take the ball with him when he does that. He's got some strength. He's not just going to fall over and get bounced around all over the place. He'll take some hits. He's no flower. Let's put it that way. No shrinking violet, indeed. Hmm. I think he will this season. I think he will this season. The reason why he wasn't getting much time last season, he got very few minutes in PL2 because he was injured. He picked up some injuries last year, which you're going to get as a growing lad. I mean, he was 15 at the start of last season. So for him to be playing effectively under 21 football, and some players older than that, you're talking proper men's football there. Some older heads, some bigger guys, and not every 16-year-old is built alike. I mean, I'm 6'5" now. When I was 16, I was 6'3" or something and built pretty well. He is not that. He's still got some growing to do, but he is so good right now. He is going to be in and around the first team, and he will be a substitute coming off the bench. And I suspect if there's a game, let's get towards the end of the Europa League. Is it still Europa League? I don't know what they call it now. If we get through to the Europa League, the latter stages of the group stages or whatever it's called, we got enough points to qualify, he'll get a game because Andrew's going to want to see what he can do from the start. In terms of are they ready? It was more people in terms of physically. It's more people like Will Lancashire who are in the middle, who take some hits, who have to push things out. He was still maturing physically, and although he's a big lad, he's a big lad. He's not a man yet. He's not fully grown. He doesn't look like he's got that seasoned strength. But I thought he did really well against Scottish defenders or Scottish teams' defenders. And I think if he can dictate where he's going to receive the ball and he can put the pressure on the defenders like that and get the kind of chances he did yesterday, he'll do really well. Is he good enough to be our second striker, though? We've got Veliz, we've got Scarlett, both of whom are probably ahead of him. Richarlison, who currently is still not fit after his knock at the end of last season, and Sonny, who both of those two at the moment are going to be our starting forwards. One of them, if Richarlison's fit, he'll start in the centre and Sonny will go out left. Otherwise, Son will start and Werner will be at the left. But yeah, that's why I don't think they're fully ready yet. I mean, let's not forget there are other players as well. Jamie Donnelly played left back yesterday. Played left back against Cambridge apparently as well, and did pretty well. I thought offensively he looked really good. Defensively, it was an area that they targeted. Their chances came through that area. Archie Gray, though. Let's very quickly talk about Archie Gray. A moment of just awe of how good this kid is. He's 18 years old. He's not even like an old 18 years old. He's only recently turned 18. And he played like someone who was 25, 26 yesterday. He was not panicked. He was calm, just measured in everything he did. His passing was really nice out from the back, moved into midfield a couple of times. You can see why this kid's really highly rated. Hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm I appreciate a good right back. I played right back myself, but he's better than a right back. He's a midfielder. I don't know whether he's a 6 or whether he's an 8, but he is. That is a guy who's built to receive the ball, twist and turn, and play some nice passes. He's a midfielder, and he will be very, very good for us. Yeah, they do. I think that's why it works for him at the moment, and I think potentially that's why it works for Spence as well, because Spence is got that athletic ability to get up and down the pitch like Porro does. I'm not sure whether he's he shouldn't be as good as Porro. Porro's a much more seasoned player and cost an awful lot more money, but he's got that ability to get up and down and provide the support to our wide right player, whoever that is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was really good. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Spence. At the start of the season, well, at the start of the transfer window, people were looking and saying, we need a right back because Royale needs to go. I still think Royale needs to go. Love the guy, love the vibes. You know, the king is here, he says. Great vibes. But in terms of is he good enough on the pitch as a player, I genuinely don't think so. He's probably at his most valuable point right now. We're not going to get any more money for him. I'm not saying we should accept AC Milan's ridiculous offer. I mean, they offered something like 8 million for him, that's just stupid. But if somebody offers 15 million, you've got to take that and you've got to let him go and play and be a first teamer somewhere. At the moment, he's a backup. You know, is he a backup centre back? Is he a backup right back? I don't think he's good enough to play the inverted role. But Spence could save us a lot of money because suddenly you look and you go, right, this is a guy who's got the athletic ability. He's got the technical ability as well. And we saw it yesterday. He can play some nice passes and he can get involved in the play. And he was really dangerous. He was probably our most dangerous player in the second half yesterday from right back. You know, the last time I saw a player playing that well at right back was Pedro Porro playing against us for Sporting. So, you know, the issue is, does Ange rate him? And last year, the word coming out of the club was he had some timing. He had some timeliness issues. He wasn't great at being on time for things, and that rubbed Ange up the wrong way, which is why he went out. His time management wasn't great, which is why he went out on loan twice, and why Ange wouldn't have been against selling him. I really hope he's got that sorted out. I really hope going to Italy, where, you know, that kind of stuff is really, really taken very, very seriously, has finally got it through that that's what he needs to do. I don't like talking about attitude of young players because I think it can get taken out of context very, very easily. From what I've seen, the way he approaches things on the pitch looks good. If he trains as well as he plays on the pitch, Ange's got to be looking to him and saying, right, okay, this guy's going to get a chance this season. Am I wrong? Maybe we'll be looking back in a few years' time and seeing this as a Gareth Bale, Harry Redknapp could have sold him to Nottingham Forest for 5 million moment. You know, we look back and say, right, we're so glad that deal didn't go through because Genoa had an option to buy him and decided to pull out of it. It might turn out quite good for us because it's going to cost us a lot more than 8.5 million to bring in someone of the quality we need that's going to be able to back up Pedro Porro. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I hope so. The attitude thing I don't like, and there's a very simple reason why I don't like it. Certainly, if it's a young black player, there's often seems to be a racial element to it that I really, really dislike. I remember a few years ago there was a comparison between the way that people talked about Raheem Sterling and the way he handled his money. and the way that Phil Foden was talked about and the way he handled his money. And they did basically exactly the same kind of thing. They bought themselves a couple of nice watches. They bought their mum a house. But Raheem Sterling, it was, oh, look at Raheem Sterling. He's flouting his money, buying his mum an expensive house and doing this, chucking his money around and not being sensible, right? And being a bit flash. And then you got Phil Foden. It was like, Phil Foden's invested in some quality watches and he's such a good lad. He helped his mum out by paying off her mortgage. And they did the same thing, but one of them gets negative press and one of them gets good press. And there's only one reason that I could see was the difference between the two of them. And it was skin colour. And that's why I hate to see that kind of stuff talked about. When I see the press talk about attitude problems now for a young black player, I just write it off and go, right, I'm just going to listen to what the manager has to say about it. So, mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Played the ball, proactive, front foot, moved the ball around really, really nicely, aiming to create chances and score goals. Let's look at another 18-year-old midfielder. I'm going to call him Bergval, even though we're supposed to. I believe his name is Berryval, but let's call him Bergval. How good was he? I think he took 5-10 minutes to work himself into the game, but after that, he shone, I thought. The only problem is the player that I immediately think of when I see him play, and that's Odegaard, because he's an Arsenal player, and I don't want to talk about him too much. But he had that kind of quality, and some of the balls he put in were Beckham-esque. He put in like the one that Phillips scored his goal from, that Scarlett got the head on and Phillips finished off. That was a lovely cross. That was a beautiful cross coming from Bergval. So, I mean, how good is this kid going to be? How are we going to fit all of these good players in? Because we've got so many young, good players coming through. They're going to be stepping on each other's toes. Yeah, he got the direct assist. I think it was a direct assist for Mikey Moore's goal. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Well, he was playing more of a deeper role yesterday, so I don't know if that's going to continue, whether he's going to push forward. I mean, apparently at Djurgårdens, he started out in the midfield, then he played deeper, then he played more forward, and he finished the season playing more of a number 10 type role, more of a behind the front guys dictating the play and creating opportunities. That's Maddison's role. And also yesterday, Kulusevski did really well as well. So we have a stacked midfield of some very, very good players. Bissouma, I thought, was excellent yesterday. I thought he was playing as well as we've seen him. Like I was watching him and I was thinking like shades of the Man United type performance. He was that good. So, if he can come back and he can play to that high level, we've got such a good season ahead of us. But of course, it's pre-season. Let's try and not get carried away. We had this last year where we saw some good young players coming through and we thought these guys are going to get chances, and they didn't really. And suddenly we're talking about Scarlett was playing last preseason. I think Troy Parrott had a couple of games. So there were players that, and Spence had some time on the pitch as well last season. I certainly thought he may get a chance in the league, and it didn't happen. He's shuffled out on loan. So there is still a chance that things do not go the way we're thinking now. There's still plenty of time in the transfer market. There's still lots. It's 26 days, I think, until the kickoff of the new season. So yeah, there's time before we actually start our first league game. There's not that far to go before we go out on our tour, though, and I think Ange wants to get the main players in before the tour kicks off. Any thoughts? Anyone? Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Well, hopefully we've got two of them with Gray and Bergval in. If they both come off, we'll have a very nice midfield stroke right back. That'll be sorted out. Hmm. Yeah. Um, for me, I think Gray can provide he can fill in when needed. He can push. I think he's got the quality to potentially overtake Bissouma. He's got that ability to jink out of trouble, which I love to see from Bissouma. But Gray can also do that. Bergval was playing deep yesterday, and he was threading passes out nicely from the back. So maybe he can do it as well. I've seen very little of Bergval. I've seen highlights. I've seen like a few things where it's like we follow this one player throughout the game. I've not seen anything that tells me he's defensively resolute. I'd love to see more of that if he's got it in him. But I wouldn't be putting that on him just yet. For me, looking at Gray, I'm starting to think maybe we need to look towards an older head. Someone that we can bring in. Someone that can play that position that Gray can learn off. Same maybe playing, if we've got we're looking for a new left centre-back. Maybe we should be looking at bringing in an older player a Naybet style player, if anybody remembers Naybet, who came in and just his presence at the club and the stuff that he could pass on to players like King improved the players around him and made the younger players so much better because they learnt from him. If we could do something similar just for a season, then maybe players like Phillips can mature to the point where they can actually be ready to take their place next year. Oh, big call. It could be one of two. It could be Tony Cruz, who has retired, or Modric, who's just signed a 1-year deal. Yeah. Hmm. In terms of what A was just talking about, in terms of lifting players up and leading them, I think that is the risk of having a team full of young players, and we do have a lot of young players, and apparently we're looking at more young players coming in. Many of them don't have that maturity to lead the team, to lift the team, to guide the team from positions of stress where things aren't working out brilliantly well. It's a rare kind of talent at 18 years old. Yeah, yeah, a guy like him. Yeah. Hmm. I think Basuma had half a good season last season. The first half, he was great. First 10 games. After that, he was not of the same quality. He started to come back towards the end, started to see some signs of the old Basuma, but it never reached the same levels as the Man United game, or not the West Ham, because he wasn't too great in West Ham, but Brentford, things like that, where he was just nipping out of the way of tackles and spraying the ball out and playing really, really nice football. And that is what we need. I think if we can find a player that's got that leadership mentality, that's got the head on the swivel and the technical ability to do that, that is what Ange is looking for from a six. We're not looking for the typical six, the enforcer. We're not looking for someone that's going to bash people out of the way and just win the ball back. We're not looking for a Rice. We're looking for someone who's got a bit more about them than Declan Rice. But also, we're not going to be spending 100 million on them. So we've got to be. It does sound like a really expensive player, doesn't it? And I'll be honest, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head who would be available and would fit that kind of role. You know. Hmm. Yeah. No, it is a good point. Hmm. Yeah, that could very well be true. I mean, we got him for a very, very, very nice transfer fee, frankly. But you'd expect to spend much more money than we did to bring someone of that quality in. I think it's also about the players around him. It was a very young team last year and lacking a bit in leadership in other positions, which again comes back to my concern about we're building a young team, and that young team can suffer from a lack of leadership. But also we had players out from African Cup of Nations. We had players out through injury. We had Son was out from the Asia Cup. It was a disrupted year last year. We're going to have less of that this year. Injuries you can't do anything about, but there's no major international competitions happening. So hopefully things will work out better for us there. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Sonny is 32 years old. I don't think he's a central striker. Um, yeah, he's 32. I do not think he's a central striker. I think he's got the ability to put goals away when playing in that position, but he's not going to dominate the role. You know, he had a really nice chance yesterday where he dropped deep. He played the ball off. He ran through, and I think Kulusevski got it through to him, and he had a really good chance, and he didn't score. But I mean, his movement, his ability made the opportunity. So you know, first game of preseason, I'm not bothered about him missing a chance like that. But do I think he's the future for our central forward? No, I don't think he's going to be our centre forward for the future. I think he's going to be out left. Having said that, I personally think Timo Werner was a good choice because Werner does exactly what Ange wants: is he gets the ball wide and he drills it across. And how many own goals did he score? Did he force last season? You know, how many assists did he get? How many more dangerous opportunities could he have got if the players around him had better movement? You know, he's going to be really big for us this season, I think. And I think he's our number one go-to guy when Son isn't playing left. So we might see Werner playing one half and Son playing the other, or Son going through the centre and Werner playing instead. Richarlison, I get the feeling he's probably going to move on this summer, which means we probably need to bring someone in again, and they ain't going to be cheap. And again, are we putting people in front of the players like Feliz and Lancashire, you know, who we seem to think are going to have a very high ceiling in the future? But bringing in someone who's 24, 25 now really could put the brakes on their career. You know, do we look long term and say, right, we're going to concentrate on bringing these young players through and making sure we're getting the most from them? Or is it, right, okay, screw the young players, let's get the best out of what we're getting right now? Me neither. Hmm. Well, they've already triggered a contract extension. Apparently, they're in talks to give him a new deal. So I'm very hopeful that comes off. Hmm. 70 plus, I should think. No, no chance. Gyökeres. Gyökeres. Yeah. Hmm. When they're at the club, we haven't got fabulous defenders at the moment. They're all still on holiday. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Striker, left fullback. We definitely need a left fullback because I don't think Davis has got the legs to play the inverted role. I think he's going to be the backup to Mickey van der Ven unless he moves on. I think there is a potential that he could move on this summer and go somewhere where he's going to be a regular for the tail end of his career. But left centre back, there's a guy at Brest we've been linked to who apparently we're interested in. I can't remember his name right now, but he looks quite interesting. His numbers look good. I think we need a right winger. We're sorted for the left. Mikey Moore plays down the left. Let's not stack things up too much ahead of him. But I think we need a right winger that's going to be able to take people on and stay wide, because I think that's one thing that we miss is we don't have someone that maintains that width. Brennan Johnson comes in, Kulusevski comes in, so we don't have someone that's going to maintain the width and stretch the opposition, which apparently is something that Ange wants. But number 9, we need a striker. We need a striker that's going to be fit and available for most of the season and have the aura up front to get out there and score some goals. Sesko apparently is off the table because he signed a new contract. But his partner, I can't remember his partner's name right now, but the guy he plays up front with apparently might be available. Gyökeres is available apparently, but that's going to be like 65 million plus. Ivan Toney could be 40 to 50, but Ivan Toney's 28, so that's not a long-term option. So unless they pull a rabbit out of a hat, which could very well happen with Ange, who knows? Let's see where the transfers go. How are you feeling? Very, very quickly, how are you feeling for the season ahead, though? Yeah. That would be nice. Ash, what do you think? Yeah, we both said fifth. Yeah. Don't worry, I'm not gonna put you on the spot. I think we'll save that for right before the start of the season. We'll do a season opener, and I'll get everybody to nail their colours to the mast and put their predictions down in stone for then. But yeah. So last thing, Ange has been linked with the England job. Personally, I think it's rubbish. I don't think there's any chance he'd go there at this point. He's done international management. He's a proud Aussie. I don't think he wants to be in charge of England. I think he knows he's got a job here to do. Am I wrong? Anyone against it? Okay. Very, very quickly on England. Well done, England. I didn't think you were going to go that far. I have to say, certainly after seeing you in the group stages, where honestly that was a tough watch. That was a really tough watch. England was not good to watch. I do have to say, I think the talk in the press right now is a little bit sickening. They're all fawning over Southgate as though he's the greatest thing that's ever happened. This is a guy many of the pundits were talking about, oh, let's get him out. Let's do what Ivory Coast did during the African Cup of Nations, where they got rid of their manager and went on to win the competition. They were calling for the guy to be sacked. Not even halfway. Like after 3 games, they were calling for the guy to be sacked. And now they're saying, oh, it's a real shame he's leaving because he's done so much for England. He has. He's done a lot for England. But honestly, we have such good players, such good opportunity to do something, and we were stifled by defensive, negative football in so many ways. It was like watching us under Conte. And I hoped to never go through that again, and to be doing that this summer was not enjoyable at all. And I honestly thought the best team won. I thought the best team won the Euros. I had no qualms against Spain because I thought they actually played football the way I wanted football to be played. They went out, they attacked, they were on the front foot. I thought we had 15 good minutes in that game. And after we scored our equaliser, we sat back and let them take the advantage again. And it was just negative. So, well done Spain. Well done England for getting there, because I think you did better than I expected and many, many people expected. Thank you very much, Gareth Southgate, for all you've done in terms of moving England on, because you have been involved in that. But now it's time to move on. And personally, I'm going Graham Potter route. I don't know about anybody else. Hmm. Okay, and oh, go on, eh? Go on. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Something like that. Yep. I think the next manager's really, really important because we got the World Cup up next, and Kane will be what, 32. After that, you're saying it's the end of his international career. I'd really like to see him win something at international level before that, and winning the World Cup would be a lovely way for him to go out in terms of international football, I thought. But anyway, so that's where we're going to end things there. We will be playing QPR midweek. Oh, no, Saturday. Saturday we're playing QPR. So we'll be doing another one of these on Sunday. Hope everybody is going to be joining me then. And thank you on everybody for joining us. If you've got this far, let me know who you thought was man of the match in the comment section below. And of course, give us a like and subscribe. Until then, everybody, come on you Spurs.